How do you go from never getting paid to make a video, to getting paid to make a video, to actually working with companies you love and making a great profit? Today, I want to share with you some really actionable advice and stuff that I think will help you out wherever you're at in your own journey. Hey friend, Levi here. And I don't know about you, but whenever a year comes to an end, I start to feel this stress and pressure that maybe I didn't do as well with my business in 2019 as I was supposed to. And so I start to look to 2020 or the following year and go, what could I improve on? What could I do better? And oftentimes what I end up doing just out of stress reactions is busy work, things that aren't actually going to take me where I want to go. And the problem with this is it feels like you're doing real work, but you're not actually making meaningful progress towards where you're trying to go. I'm going to share 3 rules with you today. And these are 3 rules that I think are applicable to the person who's never gotten paid to make video, to the person who already does paid video work, but wants to level up what they're doing and work with different clients. These are all rules that I've kind of pulled and synthesized out of a full workshop I did, but I think they're going to be really helpful in this short and condensed format. So let's just jump into it. Rule number 1, make the kind of work that you actually want to get hired for. This is far too simple on the surface, but it's actually really impactful for what you do. Think of it on the simplest of terms, but if you were going to build a deck onto your house, would you hire the guy who's never built a deck before or the guy who's built 20? Now, this is far too simple on the surface, but it's really meaningful for what we do as creatives because we get frustrated. Why aren't we getting hired for these ideal projects that we envision in our head? But we don't have any examples that we could actually do the work that we're trying to get hired for. In the past, it might have been as simple as just having a finished video at all. It's like, I can make a video, so therefore I could make another one in any category. But these days, a lot of people make video, and that's not a bad thing, but it means you need to be a little bit more strategic about what you're putting out there to try signal to the businesses or other people that might hire you when they encounter your work that you can do this again. So how do you start from zero and go all the way to finished projects that you're really proud of if you don't have anybody reaching out to you? Well, that's where a lot of people end up making the mistake where someone might reach out to them and go, hey, can you do this project for me? We don't have a lot of budget. Will you do it for a really low cost or for free? And oftentimes we might question, well, I'm not doing any work, so is this more meaningful than doing nothing? But I want to flip that on its head. And how much more powerful would it be if you actually took charge about going out and approaching to do work? So instead of having people come to you say, hey, do this thing for me at a low cost or free, what if you actually sat back and said, what does my ideal project or client look like? Think about that and use that headspace to go approach a business that you'd love to work with and just be honest. Say, hey, I've never made a video in this category. I'd love to make an example video for you for my portfolio. Would you be willing to enter into my process to make you a fantastic video, a video that could make you money, a video that you'd be proud to have and you'd love to pay me again to make another one? Now, this is a very nuanced process here because you can definitely do this the wrong way where it just backfires on you and you end up doing 50 rounds of revisions on a video that is completely no charge and you're wondering, why did I follow Levi's advice on this? And that's where it's really critical to operate as a professional. And we should maybe do another follow-up video on what it means to be a professional. We unpack this in a lot of detail in my course, but the key thing here is to think about video as creating value for a business. So if you approach a business to make them a video, you need to constantly be asking yourself, how can this video make value for the company? Because if it does, businesses love investing in things that make them money. If that's your approach to the project and you use that as what your standard is for success on it, then that will stand out to other businesses because if they see a video that's working for someone, they're going to want that as well. And they're going to ask who made that. Tell people how you want to be remembered. Now, again, this is way too simple on the surface, but why do we leave it up to other people to decide how they want to remember what it is that we do? When they encounter our work online, our Instagram pages, our websites, our portfolios, why do we leave it up to them to try guess what they think we want to do more work of? Why don't we actually put it boldly out there into the world? And the really powerful thing here is that this is actually going to allow someone to be able to recall in their memory who you are. Because if you're just in the generic middle, that's already taken, and there's a lot of people who occupy that space. A little example here is called the conference test. So if you go to a conference with some friends and you end up in the situation where you're meeting new people, let your friends introduce who they think you are and what you do. Listen to the language that they're using. And if that language doesn't align with where you want to be going, you need to be a lot louder about who you want to be remembered as. So this for me was a little bit challenging at the beginning. I remember being introduced as the guy who made just biking films, or the guy who made, yeah, you made a wedding films once, right? You're a videographer. And hearing those introductions of me made me realize I really want to be remembered as the guy who does adventure films. And so I started to be a lot louder about that being how I wanted people to remember me. Third rule is also really practical, and we're going to get to that after I tell you about the sponsor of this video. So Squarespace is an all-in-one platform for building a website. And a website is so critical in the process of getting hired because you need a home base for people to go to if they're going to find out that they can hire you again. If potential clients come to my website, they realize one thing really quickly, and that is I want them to request a proposal. I want them to ask me how we can work together, and I want to begin that conversation so that way we can do more meaningful work. So if you don't have a home base like this where people can reach out and know how to contact you and see examples of your previous work, you're really losing out on work opportunities. And so what I love about Squarespace is they have a lot of really powerful tools built right in. Things like being able to add contact forms, being able to quickly update your images and your text so that way you can keep up to date the projects that you're working on. So I recommend heading over and starting a free trial so that way you can see what stuff could look like. And when you're ready to commit, use my code for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So our third rule has to do with what areas could actually be profitable to double down on and become the go-to person in. I kind of think of this specifically as being your niche. So this is where your personal filmmaking style, you know, the types of things you make that have your fingerprints all over it, where someone could say, that's a Levi Allen video, or that's a video made by you. So that's kind of your style. And then it meets kind of the business category traction area of real life. So I like to think of it as the go-to person in a certain category. And oftentimes for getting remembered, the more specific, the better. And you might be surprised what different niches you could find for the work that you do. For me, a really strong niche that I operate in is adventure sailing. So working on these old wooden tall ships and making videos about that. I didn't know that that could be a profitable niche for me, but because I've become a go-to person in that category, I've really built a reputation among other sailing companies that Levi is the great guy to hire if you want an amazing adventure sailing video. So that's a niche for me that I've worked hard at becoming. I've kind of climbed the mountain there, and I stand among only a few people in that area. So how do you know what areas are worth actually putting in the time to try climb the mountain of? Because you don't want to put in all this effort towards becoming, you know, the well-known person in a certain category that isn't even going to make you money. So that's rule number 3. Markets that are spending money will spend money again. So this is actually something that's really important to keep in mind as you decide to narrow your focus. Whatever category you're going to try invest some time into, you need to ask yourself, will these businesses spend money again in the future? And a good evidence for that is if they have spent money in the past. And the problem here is that we could spend all this time trying to break into a category where not a lot of money is being spent, or if it's just completely oversaturated. So oftentimes if you take a top level, let's say real estate videos, you're going to need to just break down a smaller chunk of that, either geographically be the real estate guy in just an area if there's not one there already, or you're going to have to get really specific on a style of home that you make videos about, because that area is really busy. There's a lot of people doing it. But let's say you just ignore real estate altogether and you go into your own area, but you really want to make sure that businesses there do invest, because one thing that I've painfully had to learn is that if a business hasn't spent money on a video before, it's a lot of work to convince them from a 0 to even a 5 or a 6 to actually being willing to invest in a nice video. And so you're just fighting an uphill battle if you're trying to convince someone of the value of video. It's far more easy to work with someone who already believes in the power of video, because then you don't have to do that whole education work of trying to get them to understand why video works from a 0. It's often way easier if someone has made any kind of video before, seen some traction with it, and then they're positioned and already willing to spend money again. Because one thing you'll find out is businesses don't like wasting money, but they love investing in things that make them a return. So if you position the whole way you think about how you offer your services through that lens, you realize that if you can position what you're doing as an investment to the right kinds of businesses, they will be happily willing to invest in making a fantastic video. And this prevents the teeth-pulling experience of trying to convince a client to invest more in the video, and they're always trying to cut corners. But when they look at it as an investment, it's a really powerful shift where you can actually start to focus on how do we make this the best that we can, not just how can we cut corners to make this as cheap as possible. So I'd love to have you start to apply this stuff in small compounding actions. Instead of just doing busy work like posting another Instagram post, actually start to think through how could you take this stuff to use it for where you're currently at. Because I think you'll be really surprised how much those small little actions and improvements compound over time. I actually dove far deeper into this topic in a free webinar that I did recently. So if you'd like to listen to that, I've got a replay of it available. All that I ask is for your email address, so that way I can keep sharing with you some of the education stuff that I'm working on as we go into 2020. You can also head over to Adventure Film Academy. That's the education side of what I do. We're going to be looking to do a lot more intentional things with that in 2020. Things like getting more workshops going. We do these sailing workshops every year, but we're also going to start adding more stuff to the calendar and try to get some more online training going, because I've really been lacking at that. It's something that I'm passionate about, and I want to be able to help more people that were in the position where I was in, where it was just procrastination and hard to know what to do next. And I want to help those people actually make some sweet progress, people like you, hopefully. So that's going to be it for this one. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. And remember, life's better when you make stuff. Peace.